5,000 subscribers. It's honestly kind of hard for me to wrap my head around that fact. You've taken time out of your day to comment, share, and engage in all my videos, and create a genuine community here on the Tam Valley Productions channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Of course, that seems like a great opportunity to do a Q&A video, so today let's embark on a laid-back retrospective of the Tam Valley Productions channel. Everything from humble beginnings to huge goals in the future, with some in-depth answers to some important Pokemon-related questions, all of which you asked me on Twitter and Discord and here on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get into it. I suppose there's no better place to start than the beginning, so that brings us to our first question from Lime Yellow. What made me want to do YouTube? I guess that answer goes all the way back to my early childhood. I'm still in my early 20s, so I've grown up almost entirely in the digital YouTube era. Because of that, I can honestly say that creating content on this platform has always been a goal of mine, but I never quite knew what I wanted to make. But I think I always gravitated a bit more towards something calmer, something that would allow me to showcase my love for storytelling, art, educating, stuff like that. Throughout high school, I watched tons of YouTubers who fit this bill. I loved, and still do love, watching True Green 7 and his endless collection of Fakemon creation videos. Patrick H. Willems's fantastic collection of video essays that dive deeply into pop culture, even friendly rambles from YouTubers like Arlo or Nando V Movies, who can teach audiences a lot about review of things as small as a favorite video game or comic book. So by the time I got to college, I had years of YouTube inspiration to pull from, but no channel to show for it. That's when I met Green Cat, a good friend and collaborator of the channel to this day. As we became friends, I saw how he found a voice on his channel for talking about video games and movies that were his favorites, in a pretty well-edited and sophisticated review style. So that's when I decided to give it a try. I created the Tam Valley Productions YouTube channel that you're watching today. It goes without saying that I'm a huge Nintendo, Pokemon, Star Wars, comic book fan, stuff like that. So I decided to center my content around all those things. In December 2019, I decided to create a short video about my issues with the Nintendo Switch's menu customization features, of all things, before moving on to shorter and simpler video essays about Star Wars The Force Awakens, the art style of modern Pokemon starters, and Woohoo Island. That latter one found a pretty massive audience, to say the least, teaching me pretty early on that people were pretty interested in what I had to say about whatever obscure facet of pop culture that I decided to focus on that week, even with the dull mint green background and the poorly edited and the horrible microphone quality. And then, well, COVID hit, and unfortunately I had to move back home from college. Between online school and the toll of the pandemic, I lost pretty much all my motivation to upload for a few months. However, my videos continued to gain some passive growth, especially my Pokemon starter video, which to this day is still my most popular video by far. It accounts for almost half the total views on this channel alone. I realized yet again that people genuinely did care about what I had to say about pop culture and, more importantly, Pokemon. This time, I made sure to invest in the channel, not to cheaply capitalize off of popularity, but because I found it genuinely cathartic for my mental health to translate my extended free time and isolation into passionate videos about my favorite childhood things. It almost felt like a sign that my channel grew to almost 3,000 subscribers in the summer of 2020 alone, when I felt that connection was needed the most, both for me and out in the world in general. So I continued with videos on Pokemon, standard stuff like a pretty harsh review on the Isle of Armor DLC, or out-of-the-box stuff like theorizing where all the Kanto Safari Zone Pokemon were originally from. Of course, one of my biggest projects, which is still ongoing, was the creation of my very own Pokemon region, based on my home state of California. It's a huge undertaking, and it's certainly not the single most popular thing I do here on the channel, but to me it's kind of emblematic of what the channel is all about. It's an opportunity for me to think more deeply about the world of Pokemon, everything from its internal politics to its natural geography, to the art style applied to the world itself. Honestly, my goal has always just been to make content that I want to see. So now that I walked you through a little bit of the channel history and how I find my voice on here, let's jump into some more questions. So firstly, on the topic of my fan-made region, Boreal Mind wants to know how long the Rover Region series will be. To that, I can't really give an exact number of remaining videos, but we are nearing the end. Alongside the introductory video where I explain the broad strokes of the region that I have in mind, I've since created 60 original Pokemon in a variety of Let's Design videos. My end goal is to round out the Pokedex with somewhere around 100 total Pokemon, and I have ideas and concepts for all the remaining ones. I'm working on the formal groupings and, of course, artwork, but I can say that you can expect anywhere from 4 to 6 remaining Let's Design videos before I jump into a longer video with some redesigns and tweaks of older Pokemon from the region, because my art style has evolved a lot since I started this project almost 2 years ago. After the Pokedex is all squared away, I'm going to be showing off the box legendaries and their lore, followed by a 2-parter story video, the first half and then the second half, and then of course the post-game, where I kind of round things out and I show off some mechanics that I would like to see in my dream Pokemon game. You can expect the Let's Design videos to roll out at a similar rate that they have been already, so about 1 to 2 a month. But I can promise that I'm saving the best for last, the story videos that I mentioned, so I can release those all back to back in a climactic month of Arova kind of thing. Stay tuned. Next up, it seems like a good time to jump into my Pokemon art creation process before jumping onto general Pokemon questions. So Keck wants to know whether I have biases towards what I like in a Pokemon design, and whether that influences my creation process. That one is a great question. I can definitely say that just like any other artist, I have tons of biases, and it is a constant struggle to overcome them. I have favorite types of Pokemon for sure. I tend to prefer more balanced designs that lean towards cute and powerful, while avoiding anthropomorphic Pokemon or ones that are too extreme in one category or another. You can see that preference and bias towards balance reflected in my all-time favorite Pokemon, but I'll jump more into that in a later question in this video. But my point is, I think that bias towards animalistic, kind of balanced designs comes through in some of my most successful Rover Region designs. Another bias I definitely have is towards well-studied and kind of more highly inspiration-driven Pokemon. I do have my gripes with some Pokemon being a bit too specific to their region, but at the end of the day, it seems like most Pokemon that I create kind of pull from a lot of inspirations, rather than just keeping things simple. Which is funny because a lot of my favorite, and I think most iconic Pokemon, stay away from complex designs that are influenced by 4 or 5 real-world things, and instead are just driven by personality, an appealing color, or just a single inspiration. Working to embrace simpler and more abstract designs is definitely a bias that I need to overcome as a Fakemon artist, and it's something that I'd encourage other new artists to work on as well. Next up, let's transition to some more general Pokemon questions. Splodarian Rich wants to know what I think older generations do better, and vice versa. In terms of older generations, I think they truly excel at capturing the pure, simple joy of Pokemon and its core values, simply by having the advantage of being the first, and thus the least iterative. I will always think of generations 1 through 4 in this way, where shorter dialogue, simpler battle mechanics, a tile-based 2D world, and way fewer available Pokemon all work to create a stripped-back experience that captures the fundamental aspects of Pokemon with few other distractions. Maybe that's my nostalgia talking, because I was a kid when these generations were released, so it left a lot of the magic to my own imagination, but I still think the early generations did this better. So I hope that answers your question. And to the reverse, I think newer generations have absolutely excelled at just iterating on quality of life stuff. Things like getting rid of HMs, not having to return to the PC to switch out party members, and in Legends Arceus, even changing moves whenever you want. It took me a little while to get on board with that, but I truly believe this new system is the way to go in the future, and something the newer games really have excelled at. Next up, Nyctibius KW wants to know what Pokemon moves I think would be perfect contenders to be dual-typed. That's another great question, and it's something that I'm actively thinking of for my Rover Region series as a new gimmick or mechanic possibly. But to answer your question about pre-existing moves, I definitely think all moves that end in punch or kick should be retyped to be their primary elemental type plus fighting. So Fire Punch would be fire fighting, Thunder Punch would be electric fighting, and so on. I could definitely also see Muddy Water as a water and ground move. It would absolutely destroy fire types, and it would provide really nice coverage for water types too, because it could knock out electric Pokemon. Scald would be pretty unique as a water-fire move, and I always thought High Horsepower should be ground and fighting. And if you think about it, a Mudsdale using high horsepower with this dual typing against a rock and steel Pokemon like Aggron would do a whopping 16 multiplied damage. So maybe it's best that this mechanic doesn't exist, but I'm glad you asked because it's fun to think about. Jellyfish Person wants to know whether I like the trend of each generation having its own gimmick. I have very mixed feelings about it, and I think it kind of comes down to 3 big factors. The first, the gimmick needs to have something to do with the region. Mega Evolution has little to do with Kalos thematically. Z-moves have a little bit more to do with the traditional ritual-like nature of Alola's battle system. Dynamax fits really well with Galar's epic soccer stadium-like battle vibes. Secondly, I think there needs to be some promise of iteration. I think Pokemon fans are pretty burned out on gimmicks being tossed away after a single generation. That's something I definitely sympathize with, and it's why I think regional variants are the best gimmick that we've gotten so far, since they provide pretty much endless potential for more in each new game. Thirdly, and most importantly, is the gimmick fun? For the most part, I would say that they are. But Dynamax seems to be the worst received one. I don't think any of the major 3 gimmicks we've gotten so far are that popular though, honestly. So I hope that answers your question. It's hard for me to say whether I think gimmicks as a whole should stay or go, but I think each one has the challenge of justifying its existence, with the 3 criteria that I just mentioned. Now, Andrew wants to know what I would add or change to Pokemon games as a whole, like item evolutions or a need for ride Pokemon, or something like that. Well, since you posed the question this way, I'm assuming you mean a kind of small quality of life change rather than a huge dream scenario one. I made a video a few months ago detailing my hopes for a rehauled ride Pokemon and HM system, one focusing on balancing quality of life alongside immersion, by having a Pokemon's ride and overworld ability potential be quantified in a new thing called field abilities. I won't go super in depth here, but check that video out, because I'm super proud of it, and it pretty much answers your question in depth. That's probably the #1 change that I would make to the franchise, alongside the very small desire to change a Pokemon's Pokeball after capture. I know that's so minor, but it's always bothered me. I hate having to catch awesome Pokemon in strong balls like Ultra or Quick Balls, when I honestly kind of find their designs ugly and I wish I could change them to match their colors or types or something like that. So I hope that answers your question. Speaking of adding stuff to the game, Ace Condor wants to know what feature I would want back the most from past games. Honestly, I really want seasons as well. I think that was a genius inclusion, and it's far more satisfying to have stable seasonal rotation alongside day and night cycles, rather than random arbitrary weather patterns in places like the Isle of Armor or the Hisui map. I would also like following Pokemon to return for good, in the style of Heart Gold and Soul Silver or Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, since the way those games did it was always so charming, and new games have never quite done it right. And finally, for the last question in the middle part of this video, here's one from Ragdy Dude. What Pokemon doesn't have an evolution that I would give one to? Well, not to plug another one of my videos as an answer, but back in December I made a video about this very question. I gave new evolutions to a few Pokemon that I think desperately needed it from older generations, namely Dunsparce and Torkoal, 2 charming but overall unsatisfying Pokemon. I also made a cool hypothetical male evolution to Salandit in a past video, but I wouldn't say that one's a dire need per se. However, I do think some newer Pokemon are still left untapped, like non-Hisuian Quillfish, Girafarig, and Kamala. As much as I love it, Tropius could also use a pre-evolution, but chances are any Pokemon that I truly do think needs an evolution, you'll see in a future art video here on this channel. So I hope all those answers give you insight on all those topics from the Pokemon franchise, because believe me, making over 50 videos in 2 years has certainly helped me develop some strong opinions. With all that said and done, why don't we transition from the past and the present, and let's take a brief look at the future of the channel. The Potato wants to know what will be the future of the channel, future plans and ideas, collaborations, or even a general direction. Well, I can tell you for sure that doing what I've been doing, expanding my own and the community's love of Pokemon through in-depth, thoughtful, and research-driven videos, has become and will remain my #1 priority. I want to keep doing that in the tone that I'm doing it. Longer form retrospectives on past games, medium length videos focused on theory or exploration, and shorter videos focused on art. In terms of specific projects, you can look forward to the completion and finale of the Rover Region series, like I mentioned. There's tons more exciting Pokemon on the way there. I also have my dream version of Pokemon Z videos still in the works. That's going to come out shortly. I have some classic style Tam Valley videos, ranging from theory on the government of the Pokemon world, to a breakdown of every type's art style. And I have a collaboration with talented artist and member of the community, Lil Rolls, coming soon. Beyond regular videos, you can expect more streams this summer. Both gameplay and art streams, where I play games, or you help me design some original Pokemon for the channel. That'll start over summer, because I need to transition to a more permanent living space where I can have a high quality studio, with the lighting and the sound that I want. So by mid-June, you'll see tons of videos featuring my face in the new studio. The future is bright for the Tam Valley Productions channel. So yeah, while the tone, general content, and pacing of each video is going to remain roughly the same, I'm always going to push the envelope with quality. I always want to try new stuff and see what sticks to entertain you guys. A few of you are curious about which of my varying videos are my favorite, and that one is a tough question. I'm not sure that I can identify a single video, but I can definitely say I'm very proud of my recent X and Y retrospective. It has a good mix of personal insight and high quality analysis with some good editing that I am proud of. Another candidate might be my designing Pokemon starters video from 1.5 years ago. I've learned and improved my art style a lot since then, but that video still is a pretty big accomplishment to me and a milestone, because it marked the first time that I created 3 original Pokemon with their unique lore, and it kickstarted the 60 designs and counting for the Rover Region project. So it's hard not for me to have warm feelings towards that video, where I unveiled these 3 guys for the very first time. Finally, we have one more question from Enoch. So let's start off with the shortest question before moving on to the next. I'd say my all-time favorite Pokemon game is Soul Silver. I started Pokemon in Generation 4, so I never got the chance to visit Johto in its original form. But god, what a treat these games were. These are the Pokemon games with the most charm and love put into them ever, I think. There's no complex story or flashy graphics. There's no big gimmicks or anything to distract. It feels like a legitimately pure Pokemon experience, with charming stuff like orchestral music, following Pokemon, and of course beautiful sprite work. It's by far the Pokemon game that I've played the most, and it's still the hub of so many beloved Pokemon from my childhood that I still haven't transferred up, because I don't feel a need to. I've done nearly everything in that game, and looking back on how immersed I was in the world of Johto, it fills me with a lot of nostalgia. Unlike a lot of other Pokemon games where you maybe play the story, dabble with some competitive before you reset or transfer your best Pokemon up, these games are very inviting. They feel like you can stay there for a very long while. There's so much stuff to revisit and explore each and every day. There's seasonal and daily events. I've had the same file on Soul Silver since 2010, and it still feels amazing every time I pop in, even if it's just for a few minutes. Next up, Enoch also wants to know what my favorite Pokemon is. Well, as much as a fan as I am, it's hard for me to say whether I have a definitive favorite. I have about 10 all-time favorites, with 5 to 10 more that I can also say are top-notch. So let's run through them and why I love them all. Noivern is a total badass, and a grade A lesson on how to combine 2 different animals to create an original pocket monster. The blend of bat and reptile here, along with the unique color palette with that purple and teal, just sets it apart from other dragon types. Ampharos is just a pleasing Pokemon, and it's probably one of the most popular ones too. So I don't know how to justify my preference towards this Pokemon in a unique way. It just feels like a satisfyingly powerful iteration from its previous forms, and it also has a pretty great move pool. Togekiss just has such a warm personality that makes it feel like the ideal partner Pokemon. I love the unique look to set it apart from being a straightforward bird. As a kid, its abstract nature always made me feel like it was the definition of a rare, elusive Pokemon, only for the most experienced trainers. Only reinforced by its inclusion on Cynthia's Platinum team. It wasn't until much later that I actually used it, and I fell in love with it. Weasel is just plain adorable. Otters are my favorite real-life animal. I even have an otter tattoo. So I've always had a soft spot for this Pokemon. I love its bright colors and its rubbery, cartoonish look. It really captures the fun of water sports, and it perfectly inhabits the aquatic world of Pokemon. Pangoro is great for nearly the opposite reason. Its nearly monochromatic look is super pleasing, and its personality is super imposing while also commanding respect. This is the type of Pokemon that you want as an ally, and it feels super unique in its debut region, which gives it bonus points. Now, Lycanroc and Arcanine are favorites for identical reasons. They're both friends. I love cats and dogs, and I love that these Pokemon are essentially giant versions of real-life human companions. Visually, they're both fairly down-to-earth given their typings, and they also have a nice sense of ruggedness. Super satisfying to befriend both of these guys. Altaria is like Noivern, it's just an interesting twist on a dragon, and it's super adorable if you can't tell. I seem to love Pokemon that have an interesting shade of blue as well. I love Pokemon that can change their form in a minor way, and Altaria's cloud body that can extend into wide wings is super underrated and creative to me. Now, I know Tropius is virtually unusable, and it's not like I have much nostalgic attachment to Generation 3 either, so I really have no clue why this Pokemon sticks with me so much. I think it's like Arcanine or Togekiss. It feels like a friend, while also being rare and powerful looking. I love how perfectly this Pokemon tells us something about its environment, and how a gentle giant like this has adapted to it perfectly. Infernape was my very first Pokemon back in Pokemon Pearl, my first time ever interacting with the Pokemon franchise aside from the anime and toys. So this regal, fiery warrior has always stuck with me, and it doesn't hurt that he's one of the most solid looking starters, perfectly capturing a balance between rich inspiration and personality while also feeling believable and not overly humanoid. While this is the Pokemon here that I certainly have the most nostalgic attachment to, I still can't say it's my all-time favorite. Rowlet and Decidueye are also favorite starters. Rowlet is tied with Piplup for my favorite base form. I just love adorable looking birds. He's so round and adorable while still looking a bit weird with those eyes, which makes him memorable to me. And his transformation into Decidueye is extremely satisfying. I love base Decidueye's mysterious look plenty, but his Hisuian variant is the definitive version for me now. I love the autumn colors and the armored warrior look, made entirely out of leafy feathers. It's perfection. Piplup and Empoleon are favorites for similar reasons. An adorable little bird friend that turns into a badass armored bird. It really doesn't get better than that. I love starter Pokemon that have a memorable personality, a degree of intelligence, and some cultural attribute, but while also mainly feeling like an animal suited for its environment. Empoleon nails that. Now, I just love weird looking Pokemon, and Sableye is the cream of the crop there. A perfect balance between supernatural and alien, so you can't quite tell where this Pokemon originates from, but you know he's up to no good. I love the mineral eyes and how unique they look as well. So while I definitely prefer more nuanced designs, Sharpedo is one of the few outright scary or badass Pokemon that cracks my favorites list. Generation 3 absolutely nails the balance between man-made inspirations and animals. And this Pokemon, who's pretty much a gaping set of teeth on a torpedo, is the peak of coolness. Imagining this Pokemon as the apex predator of the Pokemon seas makes me respect it so much. And finally, I swear, I could write an essay about how Golurk is a masterclass in character-driven creature design. Just one look at Golurk conveys a sense of awe. This Spartan warrior is chiseled out of pure rock, imbued with so much power that it's literally cracking at the seams. The contrast between that copper teal and glowing gold is also so pleasing, and it works to show this Pokemon's worn nature, its raw power, its abandonment, but also its status. Its official pose says so much about its massive height, and its face is cute through its imperfection, while also being mysterious like a ghost should be. It communicates so much, while also leaving so much to the imagination. For that reason, I can't say Golurk is my favorite Pokemon of all time, but it's certainly my favorite Pokemon design of all time. So finally we reached the end of this video. We have one remaining question from Enoch, who wants to know what Pokemon means to me and if it's ever helped me out in any way. To that, absolutely. Pokemon has been my favorite media franchise ever since I was 6 years old, and it's never wavered since. While so many of my happiest moments ranging from elementary school to my adult life have revolved around Pokemon, there's something so immersive about the world itself that engrosses me more than any single game can. My love for Pokemon just feels deep. It challenges me to learn all about it, through inspirations behind the regions, characters, and of course the Pokemon themselves, allowing me to apply what I know to the real world. The content of Pokemon doesn't really feel one note to me. Pokemon just feels like a perfect balance to me, where even the Pokemon designs themselves really invite you to stay curious and learn all you can, so you can best appreciate the world. There's a reason why this fanbase is so huge, why there are so many fan art pieces and music covers out on the internet, why people collect Pokemon plushies, and why every single Pokemon is someone's favorite. I can't describe it more fully than that. The magic behind it just seems so engrossing to pretty much everyone who touches it, and it's kind of abstract in a way. Plus, this channel has added a whole nother dimension on top of my already deep love. Now I have a dedicated platform for sharing the things that I learn, the things that I'm passionate about, and the things that I create. Pokemon has been there with me for every step of my growth as a person. I don't think that I'd have the passion that I do for the field that I want to go into for media, journalism, politics, environmental science, and sustainability without constant influence from Pokemon. Plus, like I said earlier in the video, it really does feel fitting to me that this channel saw the most growth and the birth of its true community over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. Just like Pokemon always did for me when I was a kid, it once again emerged, and it gave me the chance to create in-depth content to inspire myself and share my passions. And of course, give me happiness during a pretty dark time. The last 2 years have been pretty hard because of the state of the world, my own mental health, and just general anxiety about the struggle of figuring out what you want to do in life. But I can say for sure that this channel and Pokemon have helped me out when I needed it the most. The thousands of you who have tuned into this channel and believed in it are all a testament to that growth. So thank you so much for being part of the process. Here's to staying curious and passionate about the world with a little help from our favorite franchise. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more content.